Make him worship the ground you walk on literally and, before your mind jumps to fantasy. Manipulation. Stay right here with me. Because what I'm about to share isn't about tricks. It's about a shift so precise, so internal, that when it happens, people feel it before they understand it. And men respond to it instinctively, like gravity changing direction. I've watched it happen in rooms where no one spoke louder than a murmur, in relationships where nothing extra was done, and in moments where a woman simply decided she was no longer available for anything that didn't rise to meet her. The truth most women are never taught is this: devotion isn't demanded. It's evoked. And the way you evoke it has everything to do with how you occupy your own body, your time, your standards, and your silence. I learned this not from theory, but from observation, from noticing how men behave around women who don't chase admiration, yet seem to collect it effortlessly. Women who don't perform femininity, but embody it. Women who don't negotiate their worth, but move as if it's already agreed upon. There is a psychological law at play here, one philosophers have hinted at for centuries. That desire flows toward what appears self-contained, and respect flows toward what cannot be easily accessed. And when those two meet in one woman, the effect is intoxicating. If you've ever wondered why doing more hasn't made him do more, why explaining yourself hasn't made him understand, why loving harder hasn't made him commit deeper, it's because worship doesn't grow in the soil of effort. It grows in the space created by certainty. I'm not here to teach you how to be adored for a season. I'm here to teach you how to become unforgettable in a way that reorganizes how a man sees you, himself, and the relationship. Stay with me. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on notifications. Because this isn't surface-level dating advice. This is about becoming the woman men instinctively protect, prioritize, and praise without being asked. And as I speak, notice what shifts in you when you stop imagining how to get his attention and start remembering who you are when you're fully yourself. Here's where it gets deliciously precise. Because worship begins the moment you stop making yourself emotionally convenient. And I don't mean cold. I mean curated. I used to believe availability was generosity. That being understanding meant overextending. That loyalty meant staying even when something felt off. Until I realized the most powerful women I knew were deeply warm and completely selective at the same time. They listened without overgiving. They cared without chasing outcomes. And they never rushed intimacy to secure a future. Psychologically, this does something profound. Because humans value what feels earned, not what feels guaranteed. And when a man senses that your presence is a privilege, not a placeholder, his behavior recalibrates. I've seen men who were confused suddenly become decisive. Men who were passive become protective. Not because a woman changed her tone, but because she changed her center. She stopped orbiting his moods and made him orbit her reality. This is subtle dominance, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that shows up as calm confidence, measured responses, and a life so full that his place in it feels intentional, not obligatory. One of the most effective relationship shifts I ever made was this. I stopped explaining my boundaries and started enforcing them with grace. And grace is key. Because there's nothing more disarming than a woman who says no without anger and yes without desperation. When you move this way, you become a mirror, and men either rise to meet their reflection or remove themselves. And both outcomes are wins. If this is resonating, comment your biggest takeaway, because naming it anchors it. And remember, devotion deepens when a man feels chosen, not needed, and that distinction changes everything. Let me close this by grounding it in the truth that transforms admiration into reverence. The ground you walk on becomes sacred when you treat your own life that way. Worship isn't built through performance. It's built through consistency, through self-respect that doesn't fluctuate based on attention, through standards that don't soften when chemistry spikes. When you honor your time, your energy, your body, and your values, you teach others how to treat you without ever giving a lecture. And this is where the magic happens. Because men don't worship what they can rush. They worship what they must approach with intention. I don't teach women how to be chaste. I teach women how to be centered. Because centered women don't ask for devotion. They attract it naturally. Think of the women you've admired most in your life. The ones who left an imprint without drama. They didn't do more. They were more present, more discerning, more anchored in who they were becoming. That's the energy that makes a man proud to stand beside you. Protective of your name, reverent of your presence, and eager to rise to your level. If this shifted something in you, if you felt that quiet alignment click into place, stay with FemPhoria. Rewatch this when you forget. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you stay in this frequency. And remember this final truth. Write it into your bones if you need to. When you walk like your life is sacred, the right man won't just follow. He'll honor every step you take. And that's not fantasy. That's power, used wisely. And before you think this ends here, before you assume you've already absorbed the lesson, let me take you one layer deeper. Because this is where worship becomes instinctive, not strategic, and where your presence stops being negotiable and starts being felt as essential. The most intoxicating power a woman can hold is emotional self-sufficiency paired with feminine openness. Because it creates a paradox men can't solve. They feel welcomed without being catered to, desired without being centered, important without being in control. I learned this when I stopped narrating my emotions in real time and started letting them settle before I spoke. Because mystery isn't silence. It's discernment. It's knowing what deserves access to your inner world and what doesn't. When a man realizes he can't rush your reactions, can't shortcut your trust, can't fast-track your devotion, something primal activates in him. A reverence that comes from understanding that you are not easily possessed, only deeply earned. This is where philosophy meets attraction. Because as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And when your thoughts are rooted in self-worth rather than fear of loss, your energy changes. Your body language softens. Your gaze steadies. Your words land with weight. Men feel that weight. They adjust to it. They become more intentional, more present, more careful with their actions. Because subconsciously, they know that careless behavior risks losing access to something rare. And let me be clear, this is not about withholding affection as punishment. It's about offering it as a gift. Something alive, warm, responsive, but never desperate, never transactional. If you've ever noticed how men protect what they value, how they show up differently when something matters, this is why. Value is felt before it's spoken. And you teach value by how you treat yourself when no one is watching. Stay with this. Let it integrate. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this level of understanding compounds over time. And I want you walking through your life with this awareness fully activated. There is a moment, and every powerful woman recognizes it when it happens. When you stop wondering if you're too much and start realizing you've been offering too much to spaces that weren't prepared to receive you. That realization alone will change how you date, how you love, how you leave. Because you no longer negotiate down to be understood. You observe and decide. I remember choosing silence over explanation, choosing distance over drama, choosing alignment over attachment, and watching how quickly the dynamic shifted. Because men are incredibly responsive to energetic boundaries, even when they can't articulate them. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing, the polarity flips. He leans in. He checks in. He invests. Not because you asked, but because your absence would be felt. This is the psychological core of devotion. The awareness that you are not interchangeable. That your presence elevates his experience. That life feels richer, calmer, more focused with you in it. And here's the quiet secret. The one women whisper to themselves after they've mastered this. You don't need every man to worship you. You only need the right one to recognize what others overlooked. If this resonates, comment "I see it now." Because recognition is the first step to embodiment. And embodiment is where theory becomes reality. So as you move forward from this, don't perform power. Don't rehearse confidence. Don't wait for permission to take up space. Simply live as if your life matters deeply to you. Because that frequency cannot be faked and cannot be ignored. Walk slower. Speak less. Choose deliberately. Love intentionally. And let your standards be felt rather than announced. When you do this, the ground you walk on becomes sacred not because someone worships you, but because you do. And that is the energy that changes how men show up, how relationships evolve, and how you experience yourself in the world. Come back to this message whenever you forget. Rewatch it until it settles into your nervous system. Stay connected with FemPhoria by subscribing and turning on notifications. And carry this final truth with you like a quiet crown. Devotion follows the woman who never abandons herself. And once you master that, everything else rearranges naturally around you.